Have you ever found yourself daydreaming or feeling detached from reality? Or do you remember moments where you were physically present in a place, but emotionally and mentally, you don't remember anything? You don't remember what happened. And that makes you worry. What happened? I remember that I was there, but I don't remember anything else. I don't remember what I did, what I said, or what we were talking about. Have you felt that? Hi, I'm Vasi Sarandopoulou and I'm a psychologist, and I'm here today in our video, in our channel today, to talk about dissociation and to see how dissociation can be a trauma response. Before I move to explaining why, let me remind you to hit the subscribe bell along with the notification bell, of course, so that you will never miss any other of my future videos and explorations of the human mind. So let's see, what is the link between dissociation and trauma. As I said before, nowadays, actually in our life as adults, we experience these moments where we don't remember what we feel or we are disconnected from our feelings. And dissociation is first and foremost a coping mechanism. And we started using that coping mechanism when we were experiencing something overwhelming, and in some cases, something traumatic, overwhelmingly traumatic or traumatically overwhelming. And why is that a coping mechanism? Because in the middle of this overwhelming experience, we feel that we cannot do anything to stop the pain. We cannot do anything to avoid the situation. And because we feel that we cannot do anything to avoid it, the only way our brain thinks that we can stop the pain is by detaching from our feelings and from the experience of our body and what happens at that moment with us. And because of that smart way, it's smarter, we don't experience as much pain as we could have experienced if we were fully immersed with that experience, fully present. And I say it's a smart way because many people survived through traumatic experiences because they dissociated the moment that this was happening. So that's why, besides calling it a coping mechanism, we also call it a trauma response. Because of a trauma, we figured out that this is a way that we can respond to this situation so that we don't feel the pain in its full extent. However, we are here discussing about dissociation and calling it a trauma response because what happens to our brain is that not only we're using dissociation in a moment of a threatening and scary and painful experience and traumatic experience, we're here discussing about it because our brain figured out that what if we're using that mechanism in all situations that simulate that resemble that initial experience, anything that feels slightly overwhelming or kind of overwhelming like this one, what if we dissociate? So our brain generalizes, and we're using the same mechanism in all other situations. And that's why we call it maladaptive coping mechanism, because it may have helped us back then, but now it doesn't. Or we are using it in situations where we don't need to use it. We can use another coping mechanism. We can survive without that strong coping mechanism. It's like a strong medication. You don't need to take such a strong medication. It's not that bad now, even though your brain feels that it's as bad, right? So the brain perceives a threat to a physical or emotional threat uh, to our physical or emotional well-being. Usually in our body, the response that is triggered is the fight or flight. But in some situations, we cannot fight and we cannot flee. So that's what we call the freeze. response, where we just stay there, we don't do anything, we paralyzed. But the only way that we survive, as you said before, or cope, is by dissociating, by detaching. It's our survival mechanism. And the function of that coping mechanism is that we are able to detach from the present reality and to create this mental distance between our feelings and our body and this overwhelming experience. There are several types of dissociation, depending, of course, on the severity or on the intensity, ranging from a mild disconnection maybe to more severe disconnection and dissociative disorders. So, one type of dissociation is what we call depersonalization. And this is when we feel disconnected from our own body. This is when we feel as if we're watching the situation from outside. We can feel that, it's us, but also it's not us who is there. We can see kind of ourselves and as if we are outside of us. The derealization is when it feels as if it's not real, as if it's a fairy tale or it's a dreamlike situation. And this is where we're detaching from the external world, from the reality around us. In more severe situations, there are people who are dissociating from the memories that they had from the past. And this is where we have amnesia like disorder or amnesia. And this is where we don't remember what has happened. We are missing big chunks of our past experience, the memories that we cannot connect, we cannot remember. We are just everybody remembers, and they tell us, but we have no clue. We don't even remember anything out of a situation or at a period of our life. In more severe situation, more severe disorder is that the identity alteration is what we call the dissociative identity disorder. And this is where we develop multiple different identities and personalities. What happens with dissociation in all these cases is that we compartmentalize emotions and memories and sensations, and we choose which ones we're going to keep, and the rest we're putting them into a locker. We're putting them somewhere that we don't want to experience them anymore. And that, of course, is happening because we want to reduce the emotional distress that we're experiencing. It is serving as a survival mechanism, as we say, but also we are here today to realize that some of these coping mechanism we don't need anymore. When we realize that we're doing it even in situations where we are safe or we can set healthy boundaries to others, especially when they are expressing overwhelming emotions towards us, this is when we realize that I don't need to do that all the time. And the cost of using this mechanism all the time is that eventually we will dissociate not only from negative experiences but also from positive experiences. We're missing a lot of periods from our lives, memories, experiences, feelings, people. We're missing the joy in our lives because when you stop the negative, you also stop the positive. So we're missing that as well. And also, we're missing the opportunity to develop coping mechanisms that help us grow and deal with difficult situations. We can never avoid struggles in life. We only have to learn how to deal with them. So when we dissociate only, we are avoiding, we're missing the opportunity to learn other coping mechanisms. And of course, to grow in our relationships, because dissociating from our feelings means that we cannot connect in the strongest possible way with other people, which is emotions and feelings. It's the only way that we feel deep connection with others through feelings. And if we're blocking that part of us, we're also blocking connection. So we are here addressing today dissociation as a trauma response. If you don't know actually what is trauma, I have a video on my YouTube channel, actually more than one, about trauma and about trauma responses. Have a look at it, and I'm going to share it with you in the description. You're going to find it there. So we're here to address dissociation trauma in order to create a safer environment, and we can process and integrate our experiences. Therapy helps a lot. It's not something that one can do by ourselves, or it takes a long time until it happens. So therapy helps a lot so that we can learn how to stay with the feelings, stay with our own experience, understand more when we are dissociating, become more aware. So if you find that video helpful and enlightening, please share it with your friends, your network, people that you think that they might need it in order to hear more about this coping mechanism, this trauma response. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel so that you can hear more of this content that I have on mental health, on coping mechanisms, on trauma, and of course, our incredible human mind. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being part of this community. Take your time, process what you hear today, and stay curious. Keep learning. And what I usually say, take good care of yourself.